Right then, boom, 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 and we're live. Welcome to Darkroom Chat Live. I don't know what I'm even presenting these days. Is it Dark Shed Live? Is it Sunny 16? I've got no idea. Welcome to the stream. Today we have, who have we got? We've got Al Davenport. You're still in Cambridge, aren't you, Al? Is that right?
Yeah, still in Cambridge.
Afternoon. And Dan K over in Hong Kong.
Hi.
Hello, Dan. How's things? Right then, lads. It's been a while, hasn't it, since we've done this?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
I assume you guys have been doing lots of printing in the meantime?
Not a lot. I mean, I've been helping some friends do some prints and teaching a bit.
How's that going?
Yeah. Okay.
Progress is being made. It's more fun than. I mean, yeah. Of course, everyone knows how to do the process, but it's just more about fun, bit of hand holding, and it feels better if you have someone who you think knows what they're doing.
Yeah. Nice. Are they using their own images to print, I assume?
Yep. So I will lend a camera. Yes, usually people don't have a camera, or they're not really fixed on the kind of camera that they want to use. They think they need more automation than they do. So I've got a bunch of cameras. I just lend cameras around, and people can try out different cameras, different lenses, figure out something that works for them. In the meantime, they haven't committed to buying anything. So people shoot, roll or so, come back, and then we'll do a once a week or twice a week, teaching session, printing.
Excellent. Have they got that excitement about doing their prints? When they see the image appear and all that.
It's a magical thing, isn't it? Right? When you see the image come out for the first time, and it's like, oh wow. Or you do something like demonstrate dodging and burning, and it's everyone's like, wow, that's incredible. I've never imagined you could do that. Or one thing's definitely magical is post flashing. You've got a print that's basically it's for the trash, but there's no highlight detail, and a bit of flash, and suddenly all the highlight information comes out, and then you kind of grab it out of the developer tray, stick it in the stop.
Nice. Well, I've been scanning some FP4 that I pushed to like 800. So like the highlights, when I scan them, are just completely blown out. But I know when I come to print them, I'm going to be able to get a bit of detail out of that. It'll be grainy, but there'll be detail in there. But yeah, I just can't get that information out in a scan, but I can in a print, which is quite nice. What have you been working on, Al?
There's a technique, right, for scanning. I have a theory that scanners, like even my high-end Epson, it says multi-pass scanning, but it's really not getting the highlight and shadow detail out. So what I do is I get a camera, and I shoot different exposures on the camera. So like I'll either bracket it or I'll manually take a photograph that has all that highlight detail, and then you can combine it. But it's nothing's as easy as doing darkroom printing and then scanning the print.
No, well, that's it, isn't it? Like doing that, like a multi-pass scan and then combining it digitally sounds like even more of a faff than setting up an enlarger and actually just doing a print like that.
Yeah, I know. It's a little cheaper. So if you're doing, if for example you have a student and they have a whole batch of photographs and they do want digital because people do want to share things. And not everyone can scan a print or properly, photograph a print. So in those situations, I'll get an old camera out and stick it on the enlarger stand, and I'll do it for them manually and properly.
Awesome. Actually, connected to that, talking about photographing prints, that's what I'm working on today. But we'll come back to that in a bit. Al, what are you working on at the moment?
So I just come back from a weekend in Brussels a couple of weeks ago, and so I figured I would print up a few of the images that came from that role. I was over there for a wedding and then 2 weeks of quarantine, so I figured it would be a bit weird if I didn't come out of quarantine with at least a print from 2 weeks of doing nothing, sitting at home, I could probably, print something.
Eating biscuits.
Yeah, so many biscuits. But
Back on the
prior to that,
biscuits.
I did a little bit of work. Actually, I'm going to selflessly plug a YouTube video that I put out a couple of days ago, where I printed up some images from a studio shoot that I did back in January before the COVID thing hit. Part of a camera club, and we have like a portrait group. So took some images on FP4, printed from that, and they came out really nicely. But
you put those on Twitter, didn't you? Were they the ones that you did some cotton bud development with as well? Is that right?
Yeah. So I was just having a bit of fun. Actually, you were the one who inspired me to try different ways of developing. With your xanthan gum, I was like, "Oh, let's just try some cotton buds and dabbing it on."
How to ruin a print.
Yeah. That's kind of right, actually. But yeah, I definitely think I prefer the straight developing at the moment.
Yeah.
I'll still keep playing around until I can find something. But then prior to that, I kind of lost, since our last session together. I think I kind of lost some motivation to do some printing as well. Sort of a couple of months of just like, I can't be bothered. So shooting some film, just building up a bank, I think, until I can get the motivation to.
At least you're shooting. It's sometimes it's hard to shoot when there's no social stuff going on and everyone's wearing masks.
Yeah, I lost for about a month and a half, 2 months. I think I didn't take any images, and then actually go just sort of wandering around and forcing myself when I was able to go out to shoot. Kind of starting to build up a bit more of a bank, and I found 5 rolls that I haven't even developed from Christmas as well. That
nice.
I should probably go through those. I've started to develop some, and I still have, actually just sitting here, still have another roll of 120 that I've got to develop at some point. And so I'll do that.
I'm the same here. I didn't shoot for.
Still gone red in here.
That's how it's supposed to. For like the last month or so, and then last week there's a local theatre group that started, because all theatres kind of having to go outdoors now. They've taken over an allotment plot, and they were clearing it all out. So I went along to kind of help dig up and stuff. But I took some photos at the same time, and it was so great to have something happening to kind of go and document and take photos of. Because I've been struggling so much. It's just like, I'll just go and do another kind of little series on what lockdown's like and the return to normality. But I just haven't got the motivation for that. So it's great to actually have a group of people about doing something that I've got a real passion about and just getting out there and shooting. And I haven't printed them yet, but at least the photos are there, aren't they?
Yeah. At least you're shooting. We got kind of, I think people got kind of bored of the quarantine zine thing we were doing, because we did about 6 different spins on the same kind of thing, quarantine. I'm thinking of resuming again in this month, and maybe doing something a bit more freeform. Let people express themselves. I think if we obsess about the quarantine itself, it'll cloud people's artistic sense.
Well, I from what I've seen, I've downloaded the PDFs of them. They're incredible. What a superb collection of people's images from all over the world, and on a theme. I think it's great to have a theme and a concept, because that really kind of focuses people. But I think you're possibly right about the quarantine element. It's like, it's still there. It's still happening.
We're still going to call it quarantine zine, but we'll just make it more less restrictive. I think for the next issue or 2, we might even do a color issue.
Whoa! Crazy talk.
No, but it's actually it's quite good. It's been fun, and I've actually showed it to some of the student photographers, and they look at them and they go, "Wow, this is how professionals do it." And I look at the quality of the images and start to look at it more critically, as opposed to like a passion project and a bit of a fun thing, right? And actually, there is a very high standard of of imagery there. You know, people really have thought carefully. They have a meaning behind each photograph.
Mm-hmm. That's good stuff. Great stuff.
There was one of the things that got me back into as well, sort of, is weirdly was the Pixelator coming out. Like, that came to me right at the right time because I got a new laptop. I couldn't get my scanner to connect to it, and I was just sort of losing all form of like, if I can't scan and I can't bother to print, then what's the point? But actually, that coming out about 2 months ago, and coming or at least arriving at my house about a month and a half, 2 months ago, it kind of made me start to want the, just take a few images on my phone from the Pixelator, and then really get into like, actually, now I want to shoot more. Now that the web is really quickly.
Yeah, I recommend the Kodak negative scanner if you're using a phone.
Okay.
It's an app. It's made by Kodak, and it is better than the lomography one, and it works really well.
Okay. Yeah, I'm using FilmLab at the moment. Yeah. But I'll give that a go as well.
Is the FilmLab app on your phone, is that free or do you have to pay for that?
I can't remember, to be honest. I think you have to pay for it, but I can't remember.
I'm going to go and check on my negatives in the drying cabinet.
Oh, done.
But there's nothing like seeing your negatives come up, and then even ones that you took years ago to sort of get you back into the swing of wanting to shoot some more. And,
well, whenever I do that, I look back at them and just go, "Oh, these are a bit shit. I need to improve." That's my motivation. I probably shouldn't swear, should I? Because I haven't flagged this as adult content. So I'm actually just trying to find the Pixelator so I can show it people, but I can't find it.
Oh yeah, I think. Hang on.
I never bought one. I kind of went, well, I could do the same thing on cardboard, right?
Yeah, you can do. Yeah.
I mean, that's not to knock it. If you're the kind of person who likes to make stuff, then it's a nice shortcut, but it's not essential. For everybody else, it's nice to have a product though.
So,
I can find the box. Oh, you found yours, nice.
Yeah, I found one. So basically, it's just a piece of plastic, effectively, with a diffuser at the back. A really well designed piece of plastic, should I say, which can hold up to 5 by 4 by 5, something like that. I don't shoot large, so but you have these little gates that just sort of come in and out, and you can shoot different sizes just by setting in different gates. You put a light through the back of the diffuser and it shines through, and then you just literally get your phone, your camera, and you take an image, and then you use whatever image software you want to to have a look at your negatives. This one's a color one that I've got in there at the moment. Probably should have actually put that back in its in its negative sleeve, but yeah, well. But yeah, it works really, really well. It's going to sound wrong when I say it's a really simple product, but it's a simple product because the best products are a simple way of, tackling a problem.
I don't think that's a bad thing. I actually had Hamish on my stream the other night, and I said to him, when I first opened it, I was like, what is this? It's just a bit of plastic. How is this going to improve my life? But the reality is it just works. It does exactly what it needs to do. There's no faffing around. And like Dan's saying, if you're not the sort of person that would actually kind of just get in and cut your own bits of card and make your own masks and everything, it's perfect. It does all that without the faff. And, it's incredibly modular as well, like the way it's been designed and the openness of it. I think that there's lots of benefits there, and Chroma Camera Steve has already made an attachment for large format, so you can use your large format camera as a rig for it. And Simon.
Chroma Steve, yeah.
Simon Forster's already started making the little gates that go in for odd formats that people want. So yeah, it's just a really nice little modular thing that can be part of the digitizing ecosystem, can't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's it's just really handy. I just really enjoy it. I can sit there. I sit there and take an image while I'm watching TV now. Just have my iPad underneath it, rather than going upstairs and scanning. I can actually just do it while I'm sitting on the couch with my wife.
Yeah. And so I haven't used a mobile phone with one. Do you just like tap the screen to focus it basically, and then snap the photo?
I mean, it's not the great. I prefer to take the image with my digital SLR, but yeah, with the mobile phone, you literally just tap the screen. Whatever film app you're using, it focuses, and then you can invert the colors, or if you're using certain ones, they invert it automatically for you. And then I just sort of export it out to Snapseed, and then just use Snapseed to fine tune and send it out. I find it works better with 120 than 35mm, but it's just I think that's just because of the way in which I'm taking images. Yeah.
I assume if you're just looking to put your images on social media as well, there's plenty of resolution there, isn't there? It's
exactly
in detail. Right then, I'm not going to do any printing today. I'm not set up for printing at all. I've been working on. I'm not printing. No, I'll just give you a quick. I can't move my camera over here, but I should be able to show you this from that distance. I've got myself a massive copy stand. It's enormous, and my intention is to turn it into a large format camera at some point.
Yes, I'm interested.
So basically, it came with this is the size of like the standard plate at the back, and then it came with this. It came with this huge hood that the guy made years ago, which almost covers 20 by 24. It's not quite big enough for 20 by 24. And I've done my first test with the lens, and I got this image on that's like 16 by 20 paper. Excuse me.
Wow.
So that's what I've been. Unfortunately, that was a 15-second exposure. So to actually get somebody to sit for that is going to be very difficult. I need more light, I think, ultimately.
So hang on. How long's your exposure? At what light level?
It was 15 seconds. So it's got these built-in lights that are used for when you're like copying images. And what are they? They're 500 watt, and there's 4 of them. So if I can get more light, that'll work. Or if I can come up with some other, maybe get a different lens, because that was at f16
Biggest
maybe.
Strobes, man. Biggest strobes.
Yeah.
Hang on, I just want to do a bit of a mental check. So I'm about to open some paper. And the screen light is really bright. So I'm going to jury rig some red film over it. Yeah, I'll do that.
Is the lens have
in here?
Does the lens have a PC cable connection on it?
The one for the copy stand.
Yeah.
No, it's got an electronic shutter, which is triggered like when you turn the lights on. I don't know if you can see that. It opens the shutter as well. It's totally unnecessary. It's actually just a mechanical switch inside which forces the shutter open. So I might just force that open all the time anyway. But at the moment, the setup I'm doing, I'm actually just digitizing my prints. I've always struggled with digitizing prints to put them on for sale.
Yeah.
But with this setup, just because the light is so powerful and so even, I've set up my digital camera just in front of it there, and I'm managing to capture my prints finally, which is quite nice. Yeah, and I've got a friend who's she's an artist. She does like cartoon sketches and stuff, and she's been really struggling to get decent, because they're like A3 and larger. She's been really struggling to get decent scans at a decent price. I'm just like, we've rigged it up in that the other day, and they're fantastic. So I think it's got various uses. Like, I'd like to use it as a camera, but like to actually carry it is enormous. It's way too heavy. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be working on today.
So hey, John.
Yep.
So you're using it to copy paper negatives that you've already made. That's the plan, is it?
No, I'm using it to digitize my darkroom prints. So I've got a digital camera set up in front of it, just because it's holding the print nice and flat. The lighting is great on it. It's brilliant for that. And then I'm using it to capture paper negatives, hopefully to do portraits eventually with it. But yeah, so like this one here is just awesome when it's inverted. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. It's all fun and games, isn't it? It was one of those things, I saw it on eBay. I was like, I've got to have that.
I understand.
I can't resist it. Otherwise, it's just like it was just going to go in the bin as well. It's just going to get skipped. So I was just like, drove up to Liverpool. I was like, I need this. I need this filling my shed. Right, what prints are you working on today then, Dan?
I'm first running some contact prints from 35mm. My daughter just had a 17th birthday party over the weekend.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Are you going to produce some prints to then give as a gift as well? Or will they just go on the wall?
I'm multitasking. That's 5 exposures. Hang on. Yeah. Well, I'll see what we have, because it really wasn't shot as a, like a party venue thing. I took about a couple of dozen photographs, and that was it. Mostly, mostly her birthday stuff she does on Instax Mini.
Okay, nice.
At least it's an analog format.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. Yeah, well, it's something. I'm just gonna do my test strip now.
I'm a big fan of the Instax Mini though, like the little the Fujifilm Instax 9 thing. I've got one of those, and I take it fairly often, just different places. Film's a bit expensive, but it's just something fun, right?
Yeah. Well, I actually bought her a whole case of film. It was that's 60 packets.
Wow.
And she shoots it like it doesn't have any kind of cost. I mean, friends will bring other Instax cameras and she'll give away a couple of packets, right? So it just means that she shoots a lot. When I was a kid at about her age, or well, actually about 10 years younger even, I used to spend all my pocket money on film, on Instax film. Well, actually, it was Polaroid film back then, right? Yeah. And I would get 10 shots, because in those days Polaroid had 10 shots, so that was like 1 and a bit per day. I would walk around with my camera, and if the light wasn't quite right, the subject wasn't quite right, something wasn't quite right, I just wouldn't shoot. Now that's good for discipline, but if I had infinite film, I could do, really interesting spreads, big projects, and I could just enthusiastically photograph things. So that's the approach I took with my daughter.
Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons why I'm glad I learned to take photos in the digital age, was because the learning curve, at least at the beginning, with digital, cost isn't a factor into each image that you take.
Yeah.
And then moving to film afterwards, I think I really appreciate being able to take better images earlier on with my film career than I would have had I just had a film camera straight up and maybe learned photography in the film age. I would have got a lot more frustrated more quickly, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I like when I got properly into photography, I'm glad that it started with digital, because I was like, I'm more of like an iterative learner anyway. Like rather than kind of theory, then apply the practice and it's all done. It's like I like to just kind of learn as I'm going along. So to be able to do that on digital, where once your initial investment's there,
it's funny now, because most people nowadays regard film, and certainly darkroom, an advanced level of photography. Yeah, so people start on digital, start on phone, and work their way up to film. If they're really mad, they end up doing large format.
I was large format, but my wife told me that I wasn't allowed to get a large format camera yet.
What's the main reason for you can't get one yet? Is it the cost of the film?
No, she doesn't even know about the cost of the film. It's the it's the fact that I already have a stash of cameras and I'm already doing lots of other stuff. So she's like, no.
Well, if you've already got a stash, she's not going to notice one more, is she? Surely.
I mean, she might go for a walk and I take this bloody great big camera with me.
Well, that's how I got into Nikons. It's because she couldn't tell two Nikons apart. certainly not any one of the 7 F3s.
Why do you need 7 F3s?
There's lots of different models, right? There's the F3, F3AF, F3 Limited, F3 Titanium, F3 Plus, F3H. That's 6, and I think there's another special limited.
I think the correct question is why haven't you got 7 F3s?
Yeah, maybe. Well, I suppose. But you collect, don't you, Dan? As well. It's not just a case of you're not buying them to use them. You're actually kind of.
It was mostly about the collecting.
Yeah.
Right. It was all about collection, and I only started really taking photographs because I had to justify my collection.
See, it's funny. I coming back from Brussels, I used to take my OM1 everywhere, prior to that OM10 everywhere with me. But so I went to Brussels and I took my digital camera and I've got an EOS 33. And the reason why I have one of those is so that I can interchange my Canon EOS lenses between film and between digital. And I think I just kind of the thing about having the 33 is the fact that it's got autofocus and it just works when you want a quick snap just to within street or something like that. It's just there. It works, and the images that come out, as long as you've got your exposure right, are just really nice through nice glass. And I think I'm kind of moving towards using some of those more advanced but plasticky cameras than the tanks of the older era. As much as I like using them as well, it's just my hit rate is just so much higher with.
Really? I have an AL 650 because it's like the first, wasn't it? Right.
Yes.
And it was around about then that my friend had either the 650 or a similar camera, and we could not believe how advanced this thing was. When it first came out it would have been about the mid to late 80s, like 88 or around about then. And we just couldn't understand how anyone could have such an advanced camera. It blew us away. At the time, we were it was like FM or FM2 for me, right? Which I borrowed from the photography, the club. I've got a KISS, which I bought because, it was about £12 or less, and it's tiny. But then I've got right here, in fact, I have a whole bunch of glass for Canons, which if you're in Hong Kong, you come and borrow.
Yeah.
But if you look at, oh my God, some of this stuff. This is the 85 1.2, and it's.
Oh, hold on, Dan.
Can you
I just
imagine
need to
putting
put you
a
on.
little kiss on the end of that? Yeah, I've got all the L glass, but I don't really use it. It sits here in the Pelican case. Probably going moldy. I haven't checked in a while.
Put some silica gel in there.
Well, I try to run the air conditioners. In fact, actually, it's a good point. I'll open it while I run the aircon. Hong Kong has some major humidity and temperature problems.
Yeah.
I ran the tap, and I was for development, and I was getting 35 degrees out of there.
What?
That's way beyond what people would swim in, right? And it's getting on for bath water time.
How do you cool it down? Or do you just let it go at 35?
I have actually chiller, which I can get a big Rubbermaid thing out, right?
Yeah.
And I could run set exactly 20 degrees or 18 degrees and maintain that temperature perfectly. But for most of my film development, I'll just get a bottle of distilled water out of the fridge. What Camera Film Photo does, which I think was genius, is they have a standard distilled water cooler, like the office cooler, but the office cooler sits in the darkroom, and they just put cold water in there.
That's cool. Yeah. When I move back to Melbourne, that's going to be one of the problems of developing and printing in summer. Is going to be way too hot. So I have to figure out ways of keeping it at a constant 20 degrees.
Tap water will be quite cold though, won't it still?
Should be, but if I end up printing in a shed, it's just going to be really hot in the shed. No, it's aircon or something.
Yeah, it's important to have an air conditioning in the garden shed.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to make any sense, but if you've ever printed it in a shed, it's really important. We used to have motorcycles back in the days when we couldn't afford air conditioners, and we did all our repairs in the shed. I would have given anything for an aircon.
Yeah. Yeah. This reminded me. So I with those portraits that I was doing the other week. I switched back from MG5 to MG4 because I don't have any MG5 at 8 by 10 at the moment, or 10 by 8, and I completely forgot how quickly the MG4 does develop, and when you put it into the developer, this comes up a lot quicker than the MG5, which I think seems to have more of that.
Really?
Yeah, I noticed that. So within 5 to 10 seconds, with the MG4, the latent image starts to come through, whereas it must take at least 30 seconds in the MG5.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but when you...
I have a 30-second timer. Is that not enough for... it should be longer than that for MG5?
I don't know. I kind of develop now until... I would say probably go for about 45 seconds. Because it's weird, because once it's come up, there's a much shorter period between everything from highlights to darks to being developed, unlike with the MG4, which seems to have a lot more of a lag.
I love this stuff. Burger, Prestige RC1.
About getting some of that.
It is cheap, especially the big boxes of 8x10. It's very cheap, it is at least as easy as MG5 to get a good print out of, and it's fast and reliable, and it's lovely.
Yeah, I was looking at buying some the other day. I chickened out in the end, but I didn't buy anything. But I think I'll get some.
Hey.
I'm also just trying to run down my MG4 stocks as well.
Well, if you get it for in a 24 by 30.5 or whatever it is, the ones for contact printing, they go very quickly.
Wow, if I do that many contact prints. Out of curiosity, John, is there anyone sort of watching or asking questions?
I haven't checked the stream. Let me just line this up. Let's have a look. We've got somebody called Kooky. We know Kooky is saying hello. And Mayank. Oh, that's your
Mayank
developer
is
friend, isn't it?
From India.
Hello.
Another thing that I really enjoy doing is that split grade printing with those Ilford multigrade filters.
Yeah.
It just works so well.
Have you got the below the lens?
Yeah, I've
set
got
up?
also, depending on the enlarger that I use, I actually have with my Durst, I have the above the lens filter drawer, but I also have attached the little page underneath as well. But I'm currently using the LPL, and that I use below the lens as well. And I've got those ones, these things that sort of say grade 0 one there, but they come up in half grades, and you just slot them underneath.
Yeah, that's the set I've got as well. Works a treat, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I've got some nice contact prints.
Good stuff. Let's
You'd almost print a lot. And we put it on the dryer.
Yeah, I think that'll be my next purchase, is some form of dryer.
I just use a dehumidifier in a box.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a bodge, but I'm getting 43% humidity in here, which is considering outside it's probably more like 98 in the summer.
Cool.
I swear, sometimes in Hong Kong, you can actually get over 100% humidity. There's something mysterious about it, and certainly when I used to live on the Peak, you'll get condensation on the walls.
Wow.
On the windows.
When I left Melbourne back in Christmas 2016, it was Melbourne's normally really hot and dry in the summer, but for some reason it was super humid, and that was the one time I saw humidity on the walls. Like it was condensation on the walls. It was absolutely ridiculous. I remember the day I flew out, I took my luggage from my apartment down to my car. Just the act of taking luggage down to the car, I was just dripping.
The combination of high humidity and great warmth outside and very cold indoor air conditioning is really bad for lenses. Yeah. And I would imagine probably for cameras.
Yeah. I've got to figure out a way then of keeping those things dry, and yeah.
I own about 6 dry cabinets, and most of my stuff stays in dry cabinets, and the rest in air-conditioned rooms. It's very hard.
Yeah.
What's a dry cabinet? Does it have like aircon built into it, or is it just sealed?
No, it's sealed, and I think what it has has a very small heater in it. And that drives the humidity out.
Al, do you want to, before you take some paper out, do you want to show the viewers at home what your print?
So I'll just move you over.
Is that the easiest way to do it?
Yeah, pretty much. So I'm working on this particular, I don't know if you guys can see. I can't see what you can see at the moment, but
yeah.
So I'm working on this particular image at the moment. It's
This is from Brussels, and they had a tram and the Brussels Eye, I guess, a bit like the London Eye or Ferris wheel. And what I'm really,
Eye.
pardon?
That's funny.
The Belgian Eye, and they and effectively I just happened to walk. I saw a tram and I saw the tram tracks, and I thought actually I'm just going to walk out in front very quickly, and yeah, sort of took the image. What I'm trying to do though is probably darken down the bottom and these buildings, and maybe actually I want to keep the highlights quite light, except the sky, which I'm going to darken a touch. And yeah, unfortunately, it's quite a grey image in general. It was quite a grey day. In fact, if I remember rightly, after about 10 minutes after this, it absolutely tipped it down with rain. So it's actually quite a difficult one to work on. But I'm currently split grading it whilst also dodging and burning to a certain degree. So I'm split grade printing this at, so with my grade 5 is at what, something around 20 seconds, and then the highlights at grade 0 I'm printing at around 7 seconds, and then I'm trying to specifically bring light into certain areas with my hands. The one sitting in the holding tray at the moment didn't quite work. Looks pretty horrible, so I probably won't show you that. But the one sitting in the fix, it's sort of giving me my base print now, and I'm just sort of trying to play with exposures in certain areas to see what I can get out of it.
Yeah.
Grey prints are hard to work with.
Yeah, it sounds like a challenging print.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right? I like high contrast, but you can't get high contrast really in a print that didn't have high contrast to start with.
Oh, you can. You can. I mean, if you want to do a Daido Moriyama style, you just have to choose where you're going to lose your tones, right? You want to lose your shadows or your highlights.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem I'm coming with at the moment. I'm going to have to choose, and it's probably going to end up being losing everything in the highlights.
Really?
Yeah, well, just because if I go too dark if I lose everything in the shadows, I don't get much of an image. So, and the only thing that's really really high is the sky. So I could just lose that, and it won't take too much away from the image. But
What's the composition of the image? It was like the sky was kind of top left, wasn't it? Is that right?
yeah, hang on.
Look like that one. So I could just try and make all of this darker and then sort of lose the sky, or go completely almost high black and white with little grey. But I just haven't really decided how it's going to work. This is the one prior to that, which I also turned the light on with my paper open. So luckily it was the last page in the actual box, so not too bad.
What's on the floor there? That checkered pattern. It'd be really nice to get some more contrast in that area, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So that's basically just like a crossing. So yeah, a bit like a zebra crossing type thing. But you're right, getting more contrast in this area would look really nice. So I was trying to burn that in a little.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
That's the. I don't think it's going to be a print that I'm going to be able to come away today with what I want, but it'll be one that I'll keep working on. I like the composition of it, with the leading lines of the tram lines, and then leading to a tram on the right, the Ferris wheel on the left. Yeah, probably shot in flat grey conditions, and it unfortunately brings at the moment is giving a flat grey print, but we'll see what we can do.
Have you tried?
When the enlarger's set up, and next time you go to it, it's still perfectly set up. Such a gift.
Al, have you ever tried change the camera? Do you use filters while you're actually, so like while you were shooting that, you could have used filters, and also you could have pushed the film as well to get more contrast out of the scene, couldn't you?
Yeah, so I occasionally do use a red filter or an orange and yellow filter on my images. I didn't bring any with me that day, and obviously, I'm pushing into. So what I'd done with the film previously was I'd already shot some of the rolls, so I had done it at, I think I used an HP5, so 400, and so I didn't really want to mess around with the pushing and pulling of the film, unfortunately, because I'd already shot other images.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was sort of in a hotel room, so I couldn't really just take. Sometimes if I do want to play around with the film, you can sort of just cut the film inside the changing bag and then put that in a canister and just leave that one to go. And then you can change whatever you want with the film. But I didn't bring a change bag, didn't bring a pair of scissors or anything like that, so I had to just make do with what I had, unfortunately. But you're right, like those would have been much better options, I think. And it was a couple of those. I just came across the scene. I hadn't really planned it, didn't know, and just sort of. I was actually walking with a few people as well at the time, so I just sort of stepped out very quickly, took the image, and then walked on.
That's one of the challenges of like just, I don't know, just snapping, isn't it? Is when you're not prepared to kind of overcome those technical things. Well, you're not going to have a bag full of equipment to do it, are you?
Yeah, exactly.
Shoot conservatively.
I have 3 cameras with different film in each.
Yeah. I might have a few cameras, but I don't carry all the gear at once, right?
You've seen Apocalypse Now?
Oh, a long time ago, yeah.
So there's a scene in that. Is it Dennis Hopper?
Oh, your audio's gone, Al. Hello? Oh, there we go. I can hear you now.
Okay, good. I was saying once they got the river and they find, I think they see Dennis Hopper or something, and they've got like all these different cameras hanging off of him, each obviously with different films and lenses. And it kind of makes sense if you think about, like, I guess, if you're going to have different film stocks. But I've seen, obviously, wedding photographers nowadays do that, right? With just having for different focal lengths. They'll have 2 cameras, but one with a telephoto and one with a wide angle.
You don't be fumbling with gear when you're supposed to be working, right?
Yeah.
Most like I've done events where I've had 2 bodies before, but never more than that. There's no need for digital, is there? Because you can change the sensitivity per frame.
Yeah.
The only thing that you really need 2 bodies for is your focal length.
Yeah, and when I shot events, I always wanted to have a spare body. Because if one body has a problem, you don't want to spend half an hour or an hour trying to figure out what's wrong with it.
I've done the same. I always have a spare. It's not necessarily an identical one, but a spare body knocking around, so that if there's a problem, I can just switch over and shoot straight away. But I've always found that most of the problems I've had when I've been shooting for someone or under pressure, it's normally been something that I've done, and especially on the camera, and it's almost always I can't get the aperture wheel to change, and it's because I flicked somehow the little lock button on the on the Canon. It's almost
on the Canon.
Yeah, on the back of the Canon, there's like to have the when you put the battery grip in the bottom. And there's like a little button that says lock, and or on off. I can't remember now. Out of my head. But yeah, it's basically it turns on and off the aperture wheel.
For me, it's the aperture ring on Nikon lenses, because you have to put them on the maximum the maximum smallest aperture, and then lock it so that the P mode has access to the aperture.
Ah.
You know, but usually, because I'm a film guy, I will normally be using the aperture ring to control my aperture.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I get out, if sometimes I rarely use a camera with a P mode, but when I do, that causes a bit of confusion.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's caught me out a couple of times as well. It's just like you go through everything. It's always the last thing you think. Oh yeah, that's what I need to rotate the aperture, don't I?
If anyone drops by Hong Kong, gone through their quarantine and wants to have a go, doing either photography or working in a darkroom, don't need to bring a camera, don't need to bring film. Just look me up. I'll take the shooting and do some prints.
Well, there's an offer that no one can refuse. Dan, your video's paused actually.
My video's paused?
Yeah, seems to have stopped.
Oh, yeah, wait a second. I'll go check on it. Just gonna close this. Oh, that's interesting.
Mayank has asked a question. He's asked, how much time does it take for development? And then he's put printing actually.
It takes me reasonably about 30 minutes to develop a film, of which 20 minutes is washing. Tonight I did a roll of HP5 film in developable DDX 1.4, and that was a 9 minutes in the developer, followed by 30 seconds of stop bar, and followed by 5 minutes of fixer, and then 20 minutes of washing. Whereas when I'm doing the prints, it's about 30 seconds of development, 2 or 3 seconds of stop, and I do 5 minutes of fixing. So
do you use Rapid Fix?
I just use Ilford, whatever the big tub is. Yeah, Ilford Rapid Fixer.
But you can, I think you don't need to even do 5 minutes for the Rapid Fix. You can cut it down.
You can do as little as 2 minutes, and I do like 30 seconds before I turn the lights on.
Yeah. That's pretty much what I end up doing.
But you can't really overfix paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's certainly if I'm making it for somebody else.
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure it's right.
When I get my next print in the fixer for 30 seconds, I'll start putting back the camera.
Yeah, I tend to fix. I go from obviously development 30 seconds to a minute in the developer, move to the stop, and then I go into the fix, flick the lights on after about 30 seconds to have a look. But then I leave it in the fix until I then develop my. Once I need to use that tray again, then I'll move it from the fix into the rinse.
Your audio just cut out then, Al.
Yeah. Oh.
The bit.
I was just saying, I tend to leave it in the fix until I need to use the fix tray again.
Oh, right,
so
yeah.
that takes around 3-4 minutes.
Is there a isn't there something about if you fix it for too long, then don't you have to rinse it for longer as well?
Is that a fiber thing or?
Oh yeah, it might be.
RC?
Yeah. With RC, it might just come straight off, mightn't it? However long you leave it in there, but
And
with
and the other
fibre, it
thing
might
is,
make a difference.
With using RC, leaving it too long in any bath, particularly strangely, any kind of detergent will start getting penetration in the edges.
Yeah. So I tend to print mostly RC, although I do enjoy. So I did a couple of prints a few weeks ago of Paris, where I printed those onto fiber. I really enjoyed using fiber then, but I mostly use RC. So unless I'm printing to sell or printing for exhibitions, everything, I'll print on RC, and then I'll move to fiber if I want to do something more with it.
That's pretty weird.
As I'm currently going through like all my prints to digitize them, when you start putting RC and fiber prints next to each other, it makes me kind of regret doing the ones that I've done on RC, or some of them.
All right.
Because I'm going through all my prints at the moment to digitize them, and I'm putting the RC and the fibers next to each other. I'm like immediately regretting some of the RC prints that I've done, and I wish I'd done them on fiber.
You just prefer the look of the fiber.
Yeah, I do. But it's, I don't know, like some of these are like 3-4 years old when I was just, I was using RC mainly just because of the cost of it, and I was just getting through a lot of paper, so like I'd iterate to that point, get the final print, and then that's it. I'm kind of, I'm done with it now.
I use almost all RC because I'm not doing it for sale, and I don't see the advantage of fiber as much as people say there is. I'm not disputing you. I'm just saying that I don't do it as much. But all the other thing is all the washing and drying and pressing. That's a pain in the ass.
Oh, that, like, when you're talking about humidity, that must be a massive pain actually for you, for doing fiber.
Yeah, because it means I have to run the air conditioner for like a whole day, sometimes two.
Yeah.
So I've turned my slightly flaky webcam off, and I'm using the camera on the laptop. So got no highlights for this, and it's just because I was lazy, and I just thought I'd see what would happen if I didn't put any filter on. And it looks like I'm going to need 500.
Can you hold it up to the camera, Dan? Let's have a quick look. Oh, nice. Yep. What's being grilled? Was that from the party?
Yeah, that was. This is the first photo I decided I was going to print. I'm going to do some of my daughter's portraits and stuff, and maybe the spouse. But yeah, I just I think HP5 seems to be coming out very dense for me these days, and I don't really understand why. I guess it's because I was a Tri-X guy before, and I had some kind of fancy that HP5 was a more forgiving film.
What developer are you using?
Ilford Multigrade.
Oh no, sorry, for your film development.
DDX 1+4.
Okay.
All completely standard. I'm not doing anything funky, and I'm doing it exactly 20 degrees. So you can eliminate the damn factor on this. You know what I'm talking about. But, random.
I'm going to see if I can bring up my. Let's see if this works. Studio mode. Oh, it's worked. All right. So that's. I'm just bringing up the digitization of the setup I've got. And that is all right. The problem with this setup, it's too good in some respects. It's like I have to make sure.
Good.
Well, like look at these hairs are tiny and these specks of dust are tiny.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can go out and like I can touch them out.
Digitizing it. You just plug it into Lightroom or Photoshop and then get rid of the dust.
Yeah. It's like taking a photo though, isn't it? You want to get it right in camera. I don't want to have to go through and do all that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Still need a bit more. So,
what are your go-to developers for film? Like, what do you use most often?
me or John?
Oh, both.
What?
I don't care. Either the Ilford developer or Dectol. I don't think it makes much difference.
What's happened to your camera, Dan? It's gone tiny.
Tiny? Why is it tiny?
Resolution wise. Oh, you've changed camera, haven't you?
Yeah.
Oh, now it's minuscule.
I don't know. I haven't done anything funky to it.
Let's see if we can fix this.
That's not better.
What is going on there?
Right, that's a lot better.
Actually, though, I say the one thing I really enjoy about printing from portrait images from a studio was the fact that in general, when you start printing all the images, once you've got it set for one print, it seems to be pretty well. It's pretty consistent across the board because obviously you've set the light and everything else.
Yeah.
So in general, it was just so much better. A
Who
lot from the
who was the model that you were photographing?
just some guy that from the I think the camera club employed to come in as a model.
Oh, nice.
So somebody known to the camera club and does it a couple once a year for the portrait group, and one of the big cycle trip. So it's pretty used to us, and yeah, it was really cool. So,
I much prefer working with a professional model.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge thing for me because I usually get asked to take photographs by people who aren't models, and I find that extremely tedious, especially when they think they're the client and they start to make their own decisions about how to pose themselves.
Yeah, working with somebody who knows how to pose is so much easier because you don't have to direct them so much.
You don't have to direct them, and they've got a set of they've got a sequence of poses they normally work through, and also professional will listen to you.
Yeah.
You say, and they'll understand your instruction, like give me 45 degrees off, chin up slightly,
And the thing is, I think that I find that the professional understands it's all about where the light is coming from, and they understand more quickly what you're going for.
Right.
Whereas somebody who doesn't know how to doesn't quite, it's not always intuitive to them.
I mean, I don't even care if they're a better photographer than me.
Yeah.
Just someone who knows how to work with a photographer. That's all that matters.
I wonder how many models have actually tried photography as well, or do photography, and then that must help them, mustn't it? It'd probably be useful for photographers to also have a go at modelling, to try to understand what's involved.
Yeah. Yeah. Although most of us are fat kids, and a lot of us are camera shy.
Yeah, but if you're comfortable with who's photographing you and know that those images aren't going there, it's just about experience and understanding and there's trust there.
It would be a really good idea is actually to have a portraiture session, a studio portraiture session, and just take it in turns to be the model.
Yeah.
So I'm doing that on Wednesday.
You do that on Wednesday?
Yeah. So at work, we started a camera club, and most people, I think I'm the only there's two of us who have experience with actually shooting manually and sort of understanding what we want from our images, and there's a whole group of people who want to learn. So I set a theme each for each session, and I say session, I guess, about 2 months long, and just gives people a chance to shoot some images when they have time. But this session is portraits, and so I said that I would bring all my portrait gear in and my lights, and if people want to have a go at shooting portraits with lighting setup, then they'll be able to just bring a camera or an SD card or even borrow mine. And I think we're just going to cycle people around as portrait subjects.
Yeah.
Are you looking for more members, or are you happy where you are?
So what did you say, sorry?
Are you looking for more members, or are you happy as you are?
No, happy as we are at the moment. It's sort of more just it's a work thing. So kind of.
This is for the benefit of any viewers who might be keen on learning.
Yeah,
getting involved with the club.
Yeah, unfortunately, this one is much more. It's more of our company group, because we do a lot of it. I'll do a session. So once they take the images and they upload them or they give them to me, we'll then do a half an hour sort of critique, talking about the images and things like that. Unfortunately, yeah, it's a closed group at the moment, but I'm happy to sort of at some point think about either widening that out or setting up something else for people watching, and us doing more of a Twitter meetup of critique and sessions, maybe once COVID is ended.
I think that sounds like a great idea. Just everyone kind of taking it in turns and like experiencing both sides of the camera rather than just being the one taking the photos. So an understanding on how hard it is, like, to model as well.
Yeah.
Is it really just an excuse to not do any work, Al?
Oh, I wish. I'm having this out of hours.
It's not an extended lunch break thing.
Yeah, sorry, boss. Can't do any work right now. Got to take some photos.
I remember years ago, a company I used to work at, we used to have like a table football league that we used to play at, like, the league took place at lunchtimes, but of course it extended out afterwards. Because you're like, this game's not over, we've got to carry on playing.
Yeah, we're looking to get table football and a table tennis table as well, so I can definitely see that happening.
Nice.
Sorry, Al, remind me, what line of work are you in again?
So I'm a scientist. I'm a research scientist. So I work for a biotech.
Still a
company.
research scientist.
Yeah, so but a research scientist in biotech rather than academia now.
So you're living the dream that I studied for.
Is it a dream, Al?
I
put you on the spot there.
Look, I enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. It's frustrating, but it's. I'm not doing quite as much in the lab work as I used to. I'm sort of now starting to manage a few people to do that.
Yeah.
So it's, and that's pretty good in itself as well, because I get to, rather than have to do some of the more challenging, tedious work, I can help build other people's careers working on troubleshooting that side of things and getting the results, and then helping at a larger discussion level, which is kind of cool.
And when you publish, it goes under your name first, right?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't do that to them. Name last. That's the better position. But I've only been in biotech for a year from academia now, and I definitely prefer it. I think there's academia is fun, but there's in academia you've got lots of time but no money, whereas in biotech you have no time but lots of money. But if you've got money, you can buy time. So whereas you can't do it the other way around. So you can work in academia on something for 5, 6, 7 years and just brute force it to work. But if it doesn't work at the end of that, you've not got anything to show for what you've done. Whereas
you're working to people's. It's like commerce. You're working to people's expectations and promises of deadlines, and it's the real world, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it is quite fun because it's not competitive within the company, which is really good. Obviously, there's competition outside of it, but we have a particular edge, so it's not too bad. And my company is also pretty forward thinking. In fact, they're thinking more about what's happening in the next 10, 15, 20 years. So they're building something. It's a startup, but they're building something big, and we've got a fair amount of funding. So it's going well, and I'm enjoying it. But yeah.
I know there are photographers there as well. There are people that are interested in photography.
Yeah, so it's one of those funny things actually. I found in science there's a lot of people who also enjoy photography. I think it's a way of, there's a technical side of photography that I think attracts a certain type of person, and there's also a creative side of photography that attracts probably a different type of person. And science has both of those people in it, because you've got to create to think around problems, and you've also got to be really technical in certain other aspects as well. So I think that combined just attracts a lot of people who will also enjoy photography. So when
you're mixing your chemicals, are you really, really careful with your health and safety?
I mean,
The way you laugh. The way you laugh.
I have zero ventilation in this room. But to be honest, when I mix chemicals at work, obviously there's a level of health and safety you've got to adhere to. Some of it's probably a bit over the top, but when I'm at home, A, I understand the risk probably fairly well, and B, I don't bother doing anything in powder form at the moment. I just buy it in a liquid, so there are very few aerosols that will come up and be a problem.
So what, from a science point of view, then what's more dangerous about using things in powder form?
Well, just the fact that you can breathe them in, right? So you
Right.
breathe them in at a fine powder, and they'll go in, and then they'll dissolve when they hit mucous membranes and things like that. So
And powders are very concentrated, remember, right?
yeah,
This is for John's benefit. Powders are very concentrated, whereas the liquids are very dilute, and it tends to be very big ass droplets that come off. When you splash something around, where you don't really get aerosols.
Well, like I've used raw chemicals for mixing up my own developers and stuff, and I've always worn a mask and goggles and gloves when I do that. But when I'm using the liquid developers, even like the stock solution ones, I very rarely. Well, I don't wear a mask or goggles for that.
I do almost no health and safety at all. I'm extremely dangerous, and I just don't mix chemicals around students.
so I don't use any goggles or any form of mask or anything when I'm mixing from liquid. I did use a mask when I did the Cine Still C41 packets and dissolving that.
Oh, is that
yeah,
that's a powder packet, is it?
That's the powder packet, yeah, the Cine Still
Right.
stuff. So the Technol I think comes as liquid, but the Cine Still comes as a powder. So
The thing now is we all have respirators, don't we?
yeah.
Yeah, in the old days, no one had a respirator. Now we've all got like a selection of respirators.
Yeah. A lot of it as well. It doesn't even need to be anything special. It just needs to be something in the way to stop fine particles.
I know.
So, but yeah, I just kind of if it's powder in the same. So I used to work with a lot of detergents and things like that at work. So anything that can that can puncture holes into. And it's designed to puncture holes in lipids and things like that. So saponin and things like that, they're really bad things to breathe in. So you just wear a mask, and you try and make it up once in bulk, and then freeze it down in a liquid. And so you only ever have to make it up once every few years.
Well, you
A
develop
few years.
No, just random chemicals that you would need to make up at where I work and things like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, the ones that are really bad are people who work with electron microscopy. Some of the chemicals you've got to make up is really harsh, really horrible. And they use osmium, and there's a heap of other random stuff that they use. That
Lots of heavy metals, right?
yeah, lots of heavy metals. And there's other things that if you it will dissolve skin and things like that. Like will like it's pretty harsh.
We work with things like botulinum toxin, tetrodotoxin.
Yeah.
Because you want to block specific pathways, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, those are good, and you'd have to. There's a huge, crazy system. You got to sign them out, and then you got to have someone who's qualified to supervise, and then there's 3 layers of tin. You got the tin, the packing, another tin within that, another bottle within that.
I remember for one project I did during my PhD, I had to use ketamine. I won't explain. I won't go through the actual project, but just to get access to it, you had to go into a locked safe, and then you had to record down to the millimeter of what you took. And then if you didn't take,
right?
So again, sorry?
On camera as well, right?
Not on camera, luckily, but. But you still had to account for every drop, so that because it's a controlled substance, right?
Yeah. Well, that's a reasonable print considering I screwed up the exposure. Let me
Dan, the quality of your camera has gone to pot. Can't see anything, unfortunately.
I know, because I'm back on the one that I stopped using because it wasn't good enough. Can you see it now?
No, it's massively pixelated.
That's really weird. I think Skype's doing something funny today.
Do you think it might be a bitrate thing as
really
opposed
clear
to
here when I'm looking at myself.
Oh right, yeah, it's Skype. Then it's compressing it, isn't it, for some reason?
Yeah. And I've got a really good internet connection here. It's quite fast. That's really bad.
Yeah.
When I'm looking at the little mini screen at the top, I'm nice and sharp, and I'm well. Looks good. So somehow it's all Skype's problem.
Yeah, it's getting compressed, unfortunately.
So I've got actually a lovely, well exposed jump shot of my daughter and her friends here, which of course you can't see.
Can't make that out at all, unfortunately.
Yeah, but it's quite surprising because you know, in the heat of the moment, I didn't set any backlight compensation, no exposure compensation, so I just relied on the film latitude, and it looks here like I've got every shadow tone. I just blew out the sky and it's perfect. Happy with that. That I think I'll make another. Before I forget how I did it, I'm gonna make another another 3 prints and frame them up.
Right.
3. Okay.
It'll be my last print, and I think I might have to.
Yeah, I'm the same actually. We've been running nearly 2 hours now, haven't we?
I'm flies and you having fun?
Split grade is magnificent. I love it.
Yeah.
It's just so reproducible when you want to make 3 prints the same.
Yep.
Okay, so 50 and...
All right then, chaps. I think I'm going to have to call it a day now.
All right.
Al, have you got a print you'd like to show to summarise?
So I gave up on the print I was testing. But when I started working on some of these, so this is the structure in Brussels called Plutonium. I think it was opened for the World's Fair in the 1950s, 58, something like that.
Oh yeah.
A giant structure of random balls and atoms. You can go inside, it's got a little museum and things like that. So I was just sort of, just taking some images and seeing if I could print them up. Once again, these are going to be, they're against a grey, on a grey day, against a cloudy sky. So I think with this one, I'm going to probably zoom in even further, crop out these little bits down the bottom here and the sides, and just have like almost a completely high contrast black on white sort of background.
Yeah.
I'm working on those, but I think that's going to be an easier thing to get right than the. Let's have a look. So these were the.
That's lovely. That probably wouldn't work on a hard light day.
No, I don't think it would. That's the thing. But then this was me trying with this other image, which I think I'm just going to give up at the moment, and we'll see how it looks. I think I'll keep working on it in the background over a few days and see what I can get. But at the moment, it's just sort of a really difficult print to try and get right.
Well, now I'm tanked up on Red Bull. I think I'm going to keep printing.
How many more hours have you got in you?
I can if I'm on a roll, right? I can print through till dawn, and I only stop at dawn because my free car parking ends.
How do you function the following day after that sort of like session?
I'm a former banker, right? So we used to regularly function on no sleep. It's just a weakness of mine. Well, I mean, strength of mine. I can live without sleep.
When I was younger, it was
I
fine,
also don't
but
sleep very well,
now.
so I don't sleep very well anyway. So
Okay.
not.
Well, at least you're using the time productively. When I can't sleep well, I just end up sat on my phone in the darkness, just reading random crap on the internet, which is a complete waste of time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a whole.
I didn't hear any of that.
Can you get it now?
Yes. Yeah, all good now.
That's the sync. Anyway, nice to see you guys. We'll do it another weekend.
Yeah, definitely. Take care,
If
everybody.
anyone else want to join, feel free to join in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
get in touch. Get in touch. Goodbye, everybody. Bye.